Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of News Dose, where I give you all of the latest gaming news. And 2020 has been a really strange year in a lot of different ways. And one of the big stories for this year has been Halo Infinite, but not for the reasons you wanted to be in the news. But instead, it was the emergence of Craig the Brute. The demo they showed of Halo Infinite earlier this year just did not meet expectations, and as we all know, it ultimately ended up getting delayed. Well, we do have a new exciting Halo Infinite update to talk about today, which includes the release window, some multiplayer details, and honestly, it's looking absolutely excellent. So if you like Halo, you might want to stick around for that. Again, it's sounding and looking really good. Also, a big PS5 game got an update that I think is incredibly smart. In fact, I'm hoping this becomes a new industry standard, and I'll explain exactly why, so stay tuned for that. As always though, I cover the entire game industry. Of course, you can always skip ahead by using those timestamps below, but there are a lot of interesting things to talk about, so let's get right into it. So Yakuza is easily one of my favorite franchises currently. I think that these games are absolutely exceptional, especially if you like a good story-driven game. I mean, there's not many games that has better storytelling than the Yakuza franchise. They can be a little strange at times, but you're always glued to the screen to see what happens next and how the story twists and unfolds. The thing is, we got a new protagonist in Yakuza Like a Dragon. This game is a bit different than past entries, not only because it has a new protagonist, but it also decided to make a change with its gameplay. It ended up being a turn-based RPG this time compared to its more beat-em-up style that it's so well known for. Surprisingly, it worked really well too, but the question fans want to know now is what's next for the Yakuza franchise? Well, there was a new Yakuza stream that went up, and I'm happy to say that they have already confirmed that they're working on the next Yakuza game. Now, they didn't go into detail on what exactly it'll be, but it does sound like that they do want to continue with Yakuza Like a Dragon's protagonist, and I do like that idea. Clearly, Kiryu's story is over, and I like the new protagonist. What I'm curious about though is if they continue with it being a turn-based game or if they go back to it being a beat-em-up style game like it used to be. Let me know what you would like though. I think both were pretty good, but I do think its beat-em-up style might be a little bit more easy to sell. Yakuza still isn't a mainstream franchise even though it has grown over the years, so anything that could help is a good thing. They did just reveal the series has now sold 14 million copies worldwide, but I think it deserves so much more than that because it really is that good. I will say this though, I was really hoping we would get an announcement for the rest of the mainline Yakuza games to be ported over to the PC and the Xbox. That could help grow this franchise, and I think everybody deserves to play these great games. Nonetheless though, I'm still really excited for the next Yakuza game, and I do believe the older games will eventually be ported over. Sega seems like they want to do that, so let's make it happen. Next up, let's talk about CyberPunk 2077 yet again. Yeah, we've talked about CyberPunk quite a bit this week, and hey, we're going to get to play it ourselves tomorrow finally. December 10th really is going to be a great day for gamers. You have the Game Awards and you have CyberPunk all on the same day, so I mean, you really can't ask for much more than that. However, even though CyberPunk releases tomorrow, that will not be the end of CyberPunk's journey. This is because they're already teasing both DLC and expansions. In their latest trailer, they posted a teaser right at the end that reveals they have some larger expansions planned to further engross you into the world. They directly mentioned the Hearts of Stone and Blood of Wine expansions from The Witcher 3. And if you haven't played those, CD Projekt Red did an excellent job. I mean, honestly, their expansions were as good as some full games from other developers. There is a reason people have been so excited for CD Projekt Red's next game. They're highly talented and they make good games, and well, expansions for that matter. That's not all though, because they also revealed that they are planning to kick off their free DLC plan in early 2021. Yeah, it's free, so that's always nice to hear. As to what it is, however, I guess we'll have to wait and see, but CyberPunk will definitely be getting some new content post-release. Also, there's been a lot of talk about the PS5 and its new Dualsense controller. The technology in the Dualsense is very impressive, and it's shocked a lot of fans by just how good it feels. If you've played Astro's Playroom, you probably know what I'm talking about. From what I've played so far though, nothing else feels quite as good, but I do want to see developers take advantage of this technology, and it looks like the next Hitman game will do just that. Hitman 3 will release next month on January 20th, and it includes some PlayStation VR options as well as some new DualSense features. This includes adaptive triggers that has unique profiles for different weapons. They actually mentioned the sniper in specific and how you can feel the tension as you pull the trigger. So that's pretty cool, and I'm glad to see third-party developers try and do new and interesting things with this technology. It's still early in the PS5 lifecycle, so I'm expecting some great things as we get further into the generation. Like I said, nothing so far has been nearly as impressive as Astro's Playroom, but I do think developers will get better results as they learn more about it. And actually, speaking of Astro's Playroom, I mentioned this briefly last week, but just in case anybody missed that because I didn't really go into much detail, the developers did say they are open to making a sequel or an expansion for Astro's Playroom, depending on the reaction from the community. So there is a good chance that this might happen because, the community has reacted to this very, very well. I kept telling people, this game's gonna surprise a lot of people, and sure enough, it did. Team Asobi deserves a big budget to really let loose with Astrobot, and for that matter, I'm also hoping for an Astrobot sequel on PlayStation VR. Now that would be exciting. Let's talk about some Xbox stuff though, and there's a lot to go over here. We do have a big Halo Infinite update to talk about, and it's looking really good. The first thing that we need to get out of the way though is its release date. Unfortunately, the rumor of it being a spring release did not happen. Instead, it's now set to release sometime in the fall of 2021. Yeah, that's a pretty long delay. We're talking about close to an entire year, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I would rather have a good game at launch than anything else, so just take your time and make sure it's a good game. Nintendo's legendary Miyamoto once said that a delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad. And I think that's a fantastic quote. Technically games can improve after launch with how they're developed now, but there's always that stigma that carries on over time. To this day, anytime I talk about Sea of Thieves, one of the first things people think about is its bare bones launch. It's a great game now, but that launch sticks in people's minds, and the same thing can be said for games like Street Fighter V and Rainbow Six Siege. So like I said, take your time and make sure it's a great game for day one. This update talks about a lot of other things though, and what all they've been working on. They've put in a lot of work to improve the issues that we saw in that last demo, as that was a bit of a letdown for a lot of people. And in fact, they as a team were already aware of these issues before they released the demo. They said Craig wasn't even meant to be seen yet. That was an early neutral model that doesn't show facial expressions. That's changed since, however, and NPCs now have things like hairdos, facial expressions, and beards now. Here's the exciting thing though, because they did post some pictures of the multiplayer, and the character models in this game looks fantastic. This is the best character design I've seen in a Halo game pretty much since Halo Reach. It looks really good both from a design standpoint as well as its graphics. You can also see the multiplayer map itself, and it looks really good. It seems like they've already improved Halo Infinite drastically since we saw it last, and they still probably have another 9 or so months to work on it. Now that's saying a lot, so this game has the potential of looking really, really good by the time it officially releases. And that's something else to be excited about. Joseph Staten, the project lead, which worked on the original trilogy, said he played through Halo Infinite's campaign twice in his first week since joining 343, and he said he was stunned in the best possible way. He says it's the most expansive and vertical Halo ever, and it's what they imagined Halo would be 20 years ago. So right now it's sounding really good and ambitious. Now that's something that I've been saying for a while though. I know a lot of people were mainly focused on the graphics of that last demo, but I like what I saw when it comes to the gameplay. The problem really was just with the graphics, but now they can make both even better. The last thing I want to touch up on real quick though is the multiplayer customization. It seems like they put a lot of work into the customization, and I think it's really going to show this time. I already think that they look much better than both Halo 4 and 5. They did, however, say that there will be microtransactions as that was expected, but there will be no loot boxes. That's actually good news, and really, I'm liking what we're hearing from Halo Infinite. My excitement is rapidly growing with this update, and from the sounds of it, 343 will be much more transparent going forward with these kind of updates. With that said, something we've talked about a few times this week is that Xbox will be making some kind of an announcement at the Game Awards. Well, Xbox is hinting at a couple surprises, but however, Aaron Greenberg is trying to temper expectations, and let's take a look at what he had to say. You will see us in our social handles promoting Tune In for the Game Awards tomorrow. We hope you support the industry and watch. While we have a couple of moments in the show, I would dial expectations way down versus speculation that I'm seeing, especially how big we went last year. So from what he's saying, don't expect this to be as big as last year, which to be fair should be obvious. Last year they revealed both the Xbox Series X and Hellblade 2, so there's not really a lot of reveals that can be as big as that. Still though, what kind of speculation is he talking about? Well, there's a lot of rumors circulating, such as the Initiative's game being there. Could he be referring to that? It is possible that the Initiative doesn't show their game here like many people believe. I know Matt Booty said we would hear more about it in 2020, and we know it's in a playable state, but it may not be here. I wouldn't completely rule it out though. That announcement is not near as big as the Xbox Series X reveal last year, so I'm still kind of hopeful that it does show up, but I definitely am not as confident as I was before. The speculation that I think is the most unrealistic though is some of the acquisition rumors that keeps popping up. I've seen a lot of speculation that Sega will be acquired, and then there was that Kojima Studio rumor that popped up last weekend, and those are likely not going to happen. Even then, the Game Awards is only one day away, so we'll find out soon enough. Just kind of go in without having your expectations set too high. They may have a really cool surprise, but we'll have to wait and see for ourselves. On to our last bit of news though, Spider-Man Miles Morales got a big update that I think the entire game industry really needs to pay attention to. Yes, Miles Morales will now have a new graphics option that allows you to play with ray tracing at 60 frames per second. Now this was achieved by lowering resolution, reflection quality, and density of pedestrians. So there is a small sacrifice to do this, but I think it's a great one. This is kind of the best of both worlds. Ray tracing looks fantastic visually, but for a lot of people, they don't want to sacrifice performance in order to have ray tracing. However, by lowering things like resolution, that could be a nice trade-off. Now, this is just me, but I think a lot of people probably don't even notice the difference between native 4K, dynamic 4K, or really even 1440p unless it's specifically pointed out by people like Digital Foundry. I think all three options look great and would be more than enough for your average gamer. Now, for people who can notice the difference immediately, you can always stick with that 4K resolution option, and that's okay as well. That's why there will be options, and I think going forward, other developers should include this option. More options is always a good thing in my opinion, and again, I think this is kind of a good middle ground. I could see a lot of people use this, myself included. I will ask you though, if given the option, what would you use? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.